like now the thing is now the thing is doing sequels like 30 years later or
Right.
from a movie, which makes zero sense because the people who
Well, it
you're
makes sense
like
from a financial
it,
perspective.
I mean, but it's very lazy, and it's
It is
like
lazy. No, it absolutely is. And I mean, that's what kind of Hollywood is degenerated into. Like, there's really no original movies anymore. It's either a sequel, a remake, a reboot, or something like based on like some other kind of media, like a comic book or a book or something or a video game. There really isn't that many original movies in Hollywood anymore, unfortunately.
no, there's not. But I mean, it's also they're now going into they're now taking that idea and they're going with TV show sequels years
Oh yeah,
later,
yeah.
which I think the TV I think the TV I think if you're going to do a sequel to 30 years later, I think the format is better off as a series
Hmm.
because you can do a lot more with that world. You're not restricted to a time frame. You're not going to be dealing with as many heads as you would, but you're still going to be dealing with plenty of them.
Yeah.
So
I think
I
the
think
problem
there's a
is
little bit more wiggle room with a TV show,
I,
but
I
I
think the
still think
problem
that
is
a
though
sequel like many years later is just a dumb idea.
when they try to make a sequel to like like they did the Roseanne reboot and I think they did Murphy Brown and stuff like that, Will and Grace. The problem is that they try to shoehorn too much topical humor in, like, and make it like oh, like Roseanne, she's like a Trump supporter, like kind of like it's like it it's really I think disingenuous. You could really see that all it is a cash grab, and they're just trying to like capitalize on something that was successful 20 or 30 years ago. And like, again, the nostalgia craze. They're trying to, but it's like done to death now. Like it's everything has like a reboot or like a remake or something like that. It's like
Right, and
at this point we
like
don't
to
want to
me
see it anymore.
to
Go
me that's
away.
the thing
Like
that worries me is that you have too many things that like when you try to throw in the topical humor, you try to do in the topical things. Like one, I don't understand why you need to do that. Two,
hmm
like even like if it's a live action show, I guess I could see the I could see why more than I could for a non live action show or something that takes place in its own universe, which some of them do, some of them don't.
hmm
But I just don't see the need for it. And the other thing is, it's gonna like, what kind of topical humor are you gonna use? Like, it's
right.
either like it's gonna come off as like lazy or just like you're gonna alienate your fans because like oh of course like you said with the Roseanne reboot that Roseanne was a Trump supporter. I didn't watch Roseanne. I didn't watch the Roseanne reboot. I don't really know. I appreciate everybody for what they do. I it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Um, like of course she would be. Of course they wrote it that way. Of course, if they were going to put it in modern
Right.
times that she would be like a pro-Trumper and whatever. But like what kind of jokes are you going to do? I didn't watch it, so I assume because Hollywood is very liberal that they painted her as very stupid, very ignorant, and very whatever. Like when it came to Trump things, and like just very stereotypical of
Well,
what
apparently
you imagine
before
would
she
be. I mean,
she like said those things and got canceled.
I think she
Uh,
was like a Trump supporter anyway, which I don't care what your political
well,
affiliation is.
they were trying to I think paint like because obviously she Roseanne had a lot to do with actual like the actual writing. Like I'm pretty sure she wrote a lot. She was like trying to create it herself. So like
Yeah,
they were
this
kind
was
of
her
trying to
thing.
portray her as like yes they were like she was a Trump supporter, but like she voted for Trump. She wasn't like an asshole. She voted for Trump because she thought he would like help middle America kind of thing.
Which I think most people did. I think that's why most people
Yeah,
did vote for him the first time was because they thought he was like they thought he like legitimately wanted to do all these things and that
yeah.
he really cared about the little guy and that he was really looking out for,
hmm
for people who ended up getting screwed over during the financial crisis and lost their like everything's.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people really believed in that message and they
yeah.
believed that he, that he meant every word that he said. And, it turned out he was just another politician. He was just another guy trying to get your vote, and of course he was going to do what he did, and it didn't. And like the little person didn't really matter because he only wanted to protect the rich, and you know it was. He ended up just being more like it ended up just being, you know, hooray, we got a new boss, and it was like meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, you were.
Yeah. So I don't, you know, it's just. I think in general, I think the whole remake thing is just it's really done to death. I think a couple of things that it works maybe, like, you know, there's the Sopranos prequel movie coming out soon. I'm actually looking forward to that. I think it looks really good.
I am too.
It's an interesting thing. I'm like, you know, it's cool that they're doing it, kind of. But
I don't
Sopranos
mind. I don't mind prequel things.
Yeah,
prequel things you have a lot more to play with.
Telling a different story.
Right.
It's not just like the same characters, but now 20 years later. You know,
right? It's the same characters like 30 years before the original show. Like you can play with that, and it's like I'll give you a better pass. I'll give you a pass on it. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to say, oh well, you know, I hope they don't do this. I hope they don't do that, because I now know that it has to take place years before everything happened. So you're going to try to keep it like historically accurate. You're not going to try to shoehorn, you know, something in there.
Yeah.
Maybe you could like work in a current jab somehow through like a clever joke writing, but then it's a clever joke, so it's okay. But I think I think the Sopranos thing will be good. I like prequel stuff. Sequel stuff I'm not crazy about. Like I like Bill and Ted. I loved Bill and Ted 1 and 2. I did not see the reason for Bill and Ted 3. I have yet to watch Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. And like we were watching when we were watching the Super Bowl the other day, there was the commercial. There was the Wayne's World commercial, which Mike Myers and Dana Carvey really haven't. They've aged pretty gracefully, so they look very similar, and they pop out their kids, you know, not their real kids. Obviously, I don't think Mike Myers has any children. He lives a very private life. Dana Carvey has 2 sons that do stand up as well. You know, and then they have Cardi B, which, in my opinion, ruined the commercial because it should have been like a current rock person. Yeah. But, okay, they threw in Cardi B.
Well, you know, whatever. It's an advertisement. They want whoever's going to make them money.
Right.
Which you know, she's popular.
Yeah, which ties more closely into like the plot of Wayne's World 1. But that's different. Right. And one of the people that were at the small socially distanced gathering, I have to put that in there. That we were with was like, hey, maybe, you know, I wouldn't mind a Wayne's World 3 where they could do something like this where it's just their kids, and, you know, they could just keep basically the same plot of the first one, but just kind of update and have them pass the torch to their kids. And like I was like, I don't know, like I don't want all these like cultural and topical references and all these like cultural like current jokes, or like anything like lazy or stupid, like, oh, Wayne and Garth don't know how to use a smartphone, haha, or oh, they've learned about social media, now they're gonna make a mistake and like people are gonna go crazy. Like I hope they don't do that, but if they were going to do that, I could see something like that where their kids basically start a YouTube channel and you know, it blows up and they get overtaken by like Maker Studios or something like that, or like some big like, you know, social media marketing machine, and then it's the same plot as Wayne's World 1, but not. Now that I've written everything, this is now here for historical record, so that anybody in Hollywood that takes my idea, I will sue you. And my mother works at the biggest law firm in Brooklyn, and they specialize in corporate law. So they will I will come after you. The gold around your waist will be mine. Also, speaking of law firms at my mom's place, I have to issue an apology. Now I'm caught between Dusty and not Dusty. Um, I have to issue an apology to in the very first episode, we we pointed we aired some brief grievances about our Zamboni days and how they came to a crashing halt by the degenerate lawyers of the Zamboni Corporation.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up we said some words that all lawyers are terrible or all lawyers are evil or something along those lines. I want to clarify something. My mother's bosses, Larry and Steve, are very nice guys. They are the exception to the rule that all lawyers must be evil. They are the only two lawyers that will get into heaven when they die, and there will be a very nice party for them. And all the angels will get very jealous, and all the priests will get extremely jealous. Because Larry and Steve are nice guys, and they happen to be lawyers. I'm not saying this because my mother told me to. My mother got very upset, but I also... but I have also met Larry and Steve, and they are stand-up guys, and they're constantly trying to make sure that my mom's okay. Like, if there's ever, they've helped her out along the way. I'm not going to get into details, but Larry and Steve are stand-up guys. All other lawyers are pure evil, and they will burn in a fiery, fiery death. Okay, now that lawyers are going to hell, we may need to call either Steve or Larry or Stephen P. New.
Oh, God.
Lawsuits. If you are a lawyer that wants to help a guy in need, head on over to our Patreon and fund our corporate lawsuit. But yes, I don't have much else to say about Napoleon Dynamite or lawyers, but I'm just a little bit nervous about when they reboot shows or movies or they try to do like sequels many, many years later, because there are many problems and a lot of it is just a lazy cash cow and it just doesn't work. I think the exception to that is the Clerk stuff because Kevin Smith is the one running the show completely. And
I think he was kind of lampooning the whole like remake.
Well,
thing,
that too. Like when he does it, it's a purpose. Like there's a purpose to it. Like he's obviously not doing it as a cash cow. Yes, it will make money, but he's doing it to make fun of other things, or he's doing it to like point out that this is a stupid craze that Hollywood is doing, and we're doing it, but it's going to be very meta, and we're going to like make fun of it. Or like the Clerks sequel was the 10th anniversary, and he was like, "I'm going to do this. I want them to, I did this 10 years ago. I'm proud of it. I was proud of it then. I'm proud of it now. I'm going to make the sequel." And it's basically a very similar movie, but it's actually really great. It's actually really funny on its own, and it's really great.
Yeah.
But that's an exception. I was worried for the Animaniacs reboot. It's not bad.
It's not too bad. Yeah.
There's a little bit of what we talked about in there. Like there's a couple of there's a couple of shorts where there's one in the first episode where like Pinky and the Brain end up going viral on like a YouTube channel or something like that, or social media, and they try to take over the world that way. But like there's thought put into it, there's care. Like yes, there are certain yes, there are some political jokes where they're like, where they poke fun at Trump, but like Animaniacs did this anyway. And also like, Trump in his own right he's just comedy gold by himself because what he does is just endlessly stupid. So he's just begging to be made fun of. And I thought that they did it in a really funny way. Like there's an episode where where they're like doing an Olympics thing or something like that, and like they go, or like it's like a parody of like Homer's Odyssey, and like they go to they wind up on this island and there's a Cyclops that's obviously like a big Trump baby thing. It just looks like a giant baby that's like looks like Trump, and it's funny. Yeah, like. But I was worried about that for Animaniacs at first because I was like, oh no, like are they gonna like they didn't get the original writers. I think it was just Roger Rougeau
Mm-hmm.
And all the voice actors. And I was a little worried. And of course, Steven Spielberg is like, executive producing it or like doing whatever he has. He's involved somehow. So like the main members of the old band are back together, but the backing orchestra has changed. I guess is the nice way to put it,
Mm-hmm.
or the best way to put it. And I was a little bit worried about it at first. I didn't know if it was. I was hoping that it was. I was like, is it still gonna be funny? Are they gonna like? Is the new writing staff gonna like? Are they gonna be good writers or are they gonna be lazy? Like, how is this gonna go? And I haven't finished it. I haven't finished the whole thing yet, but it's. I think they did. I think they did okay with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only things that I have to say is they they don't have they only have the Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. They don't have any of the other supporting
Aunt Slappy
characters. Yeah, they don't have them in there. There's no Good Pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Rita and Runt, or there's no not Elmira. She's Tiny Toons, but they're rebooting that too.
No, she was in.
She was like loosely.
Animated.
She had the Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain episode, which was funny.
Yeah.
Mindy and Buttons. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Similar, and I think I think the same voice actress voiced Mindy as well as Elmira.
Yes, I believe so.
I think she did. We just didn't get any of those extra ones, and like there's certain episodes where like the skits really drag. Like there's like they'll be going for like 15 to 20 minutes, and it's like this should have been like a 7 or 8 minute cartoon. Like you're kind of like drawing it out. But other than that, I think it's fine, and I'm actually really like glad that they that they did it the way that they did.
Yeah. I mean, it's Animaniacs now. It's like a perfect like they really, especially the way they kind of make fun of again like reboots in the beginning and stuff, and how
there's a lot of meta jokes in there, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Like they kept the spirit.
Yes.
Which was what I was worried about. I was worried that they weren't going to keep the spirit and that it was going to be Animaniacs in name only, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And like the actors, they haven't skipped a beat. They can still pull off the voices, and it's really remarkable what they do.
Yeah.